What is up, everybody, and welcome to a very special live version of Creative Frequencies with me, your host, Chris Vaglio. And I am joined here today by my dear friend, colleague, mentor, muse,
Mentor, yeah, right.
all those things, Mr. Mike Ham. Greetings from the Garden State podcast. How are you, pal? Thanks for coming on, man.
Oh,
Appreciate it.
thanks for having me. I'm excited to be on here. We haven't done a show together in years. I
It's
feel like
been a
probably
long
since
time.
2020. I feel like or maybe 2021 maybe was the last time we actually did something, you
Yeah.
know, any kind of thing together. And I'm excited. Thanks for having me.
I believe so, man. No, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I'm
Absolutely.
gonna
And
clean my camera real fast too.
oh
Actually,
yeah,
this is
clean
live
that,
TV right
dude.
here.
Get the schmeg off that there.
I mean, it works.
No,
There
man,
we
but
go.
it's been a while, and I'm really psyched to be on. I mean, when I was doing this show, I mean, you and I were both doing our shows at the same time, and I think this was when I was just always going like live stream, and then and now since I just do the one show with Amanda, Song Swap Showdown, we live stream on Mondays.
Yeah.
This show, which was called Rocket Live, is now called Creative Frequencies, and I've actually just been doing them as recorded episodes, not going live. But hey, I was like, well, Mike Ham wants to come on the show,
Yeah.
so I'm
We
gonna
go
go
live.
live because. But we actually have some very timely things to talk about. So
That's
instead
true.
of me doing a recording and trying to like clean it up and take days to get it out, I'm like, you know what? We're gonna go live. We're gonna rip it old school, how you and I know how to do, and we're gonna talk about everything you got going on because what I have found, to be something that I think is very cool. And I think this is what a lot of podcasters, so if there's any podcasters out there listening right now, or actually, if you're watching this, we are live streaming. So feel free to dump your questions in, comments, play along, harass us, whatever you want to do. But I think the one thing that a lot of podcasters are always struggling with, right, is how do I take things to the next level, right?
Yeah.
And you and I have very similar starts in how we started our podcasting journey, in a sense that you and I both started kind of doing our shows on LinkedIn, kind of pandemic-y, like
Yeah.
during the pandemic, and just going with it. And so you started off basically doing Morning Spotlight,
Yep.
which mainly featured a lot of real estate talk. I mean,
Yeah,
for the
predominantly,
most part,
especially
right?
especially at the very
Yeah.
beginning, it was primarily real estate stuff because that was what my full-time job was. It got a little bit, over time, it did evolve a little bit just because, I was talking about stuff that I do at work and I was really enjoying doing the show. And then after a while, I was like, am I really going to talk about commercial real estate taxes or 1031 exchanges again, after all this
Yeah.
stuff? And, after a while, I was like, we got to do something else. And then it evolved a little bit and we would still do like the business real estate type thing, but we'd always try to like add in a second guest, that like someone like yourself where you're not necessarily like in real estate, but some of the lessons that those guests can bring are kind
Right.
of across you know they transcend industry.
Yeah.
And but having someone like you there, it's like someone like I want to talk to too,
Right.
and it just kind of made it was a lot of work to do 2 episodes a week because that's pretty much the clip
Yeah.
that we were running at for almost a year.
Yeah, you were
Um,
pumping them out, man. You
yeah,
were
yeah, we
doing
were
some
doing a
really
lot.
good volume.
Yeah, yeah, volume's never an issue with me. But yeah, so then that was that show, and that show served its purpose. It started out like very scripted
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff, but all the stuff that we're doing now with greetings from the Garden State and everything that we're like all the other stuff that we're kind of working on, really is rooted in the Morning Spotlight and how it started and
Yeah.
that you could like see this clear evolution over the last 4 years with all the stuff that we've been working on.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, the evolution has been pretty awesome to watch from, from this side, and having, knowing you, being friends with you, working with you and all that. It's been pretty excellent to see your growth and kind of how you went from Morning Spotlight to Greetings from the Garden State, and how Greetings from the Garden State started and what kind of what it morphed into and all that. And,
Yeah.
for everybody listening out there or watching this, it's one of those things. So if you're just starting your podcasting journey or whatever, if you're doing any kind of content creation or you're involved in any kind of creative whatsoever, just know it's not always a straight line, and it's not.
No.
And oftentimes, what you see as a final product, whatever is on screen, on your timeline, wherever, whatever you're listening to, it took a while to finally get to that finished product. And for you, my friend, I know that your journey was not without its bumps and grinds and all that. And so
Yeah.
I know that when you started out doing Greetings from the Garden State, I have the privilege of kind of knowing a lot of the inside backstory. That's like, listen, you really wanted to turn this into something, make it into a media company, get it up and running, but you're also still working your full time gig. So you were
Yeah.
really trying to balance. Hey, how do I grow? Not just I just don't want this to be like Greetings from the Garden State, the hobby. I want this to be Greetings from the Garden State, the business, right? I want to turn this into something. But how do I, throw gasoline on this fire, but also, hang on my full time job for now?
Yeah.
And, I'd love for you to share that story because I know that a lot of folks kind of struggle with that and the balance and then, and I know in your story, some unexpected things happened.
Yeah. It's funny that you say, like, looking at someone like me and it's like a finished product, and people that are just getting started are like, oh God, I wish I had that. And I look at other people and I'm like, oh God, I wish I had that.
That's
So like it's
that's the
still,
curse.
yeah, the
That's the
curse
creator
of the
curse.
creative. It just
Yeah.
like constantly evolving and constantly trying to grow what we're doing and how we do it and who we work with and all that kind of stuff. But yes, I mean, the morning spotlight was a thing, and it kind of got, like I said in the previous answer, it got me started in content creation and doing all that kind of stuff. It got me to a place where I felt really comfortable doing interviews and all that kind of stuff. And I did one in-person interview at my buddy's studio down in Trenton, and I was like, in-person interviews are awesome. So then that's kind of how the traveling
Right.
to the guests and doing it that way. And at the beginning, I was like, all right, this is kind of cool, and I was doing it kind of like you said, like as a hobby at the beginning. Um, but then I started noticing, especially as we kind of progressed and we did like our 6 month, we did a threw a party for the show after 6 months. We did a year when we were a year old, we did a party for that. And I was
Hmm.
like, wow, like we're really getting onto something. And, I obviously traveling to our guests, which is how we record on location the show.
Yeah.
That ain't cheap either, so
No,
gas, tolls, food, all that kind of stuff.
the whole shebang.
Hotels in some cases if we need to, if it's a far trip. But uh, yeah, it was like the having my full time job and trying to run this show, and then realizing that it could be a thing that actually did make money. I had like still had a foot in two different buckets,
Yeah.
so I had the safety net of having a salary and benefits and all that kind of stuff. Was never going to get rid of that. And but also had this other thing that I was like, ooh, this like new shiny ball, like it's
Yeah.
cool and interesting, and I'm meeting really cool people. And then, you know, I kind of almost, I mean, I sort of saw it coming, but it kind of out of the
Hmm.
blue back in October, they restructured the entire New Jersey office, laid off a lot of the staff, and I was one of the unlucky ones that got laid off. So then it was kind of this thrusted into the universe type of thing,
Yeah.
or into the mercy of the universe, really. But was
Yeah.
funny, and
Literally.
this, like
Yeah.
we signed on the New Jersey Lottery that Wednesday. So like Wednesday morning, I signed the contract with the New Jersey Lottery to bring them on as our title sponsor of Greetings from the Garden State, which was
Hmm.
major. They're awesome. They've been great to work
Yeah.
with over the first however many months that is, 6, 7 months.
Yeah. I
Um,
think it's been a little bit now.
yeah, and then the next morning I got laid off from my full time job. So it was like this high and then this low, but I really didn't stay in that low that long because that afternoon we worked out a partnership with NJ Digest. That Friday we worked on something else, and it was like all of a sudden that I was
The floodgates
free, I
opened.
guess, if that's the
Yeah.
word. Now that I was free, I kind of had just all this energy to put into this one thing that I was really passionate about. And it was scary, and it still is
Right.
terrifying, honestly. But the more we kind of do things and get creative and start working with different people and meeting different people, and I'm sure we're going to talk about some of this stuff, but growing it to a point where now it's like it's a show, but there's so many more pieces to it. Like you
Yeah.
mentioned, like a media company, or obviously we have Jersey Fest, which is what we're going to talk about eventually. But events and doing different things and trying to think outside the box and using the podcast as a vessel to basically get in front of people that I want to talk to, using it as a vessel to grow connections and grow a network and all that kind of stuff, and then give people a place to actually like engage with the stuff that we're doing.
Yeah.
which is a really cool thing.
Yeah, I agree, man. I mean, I think that once again, I've had the privilege of knowing a lot of behind the scenes stuff here with you, and so for me, being friends with you, it's been awesome to see the growth and see how you've really, risen to it. Because listen, it's when you don't have, when you kind of have the security of the job and being able to like then okay, well, I know I got the job, I'll do my job, I clock in, clock out, and
Yeah,
then I could work on my other stuff from however long I want. But when that goes away, it's like, oh crap, like now what am I
yeah,
gonna do? And it really forces you, now survival really kicks in and you're like, now I'm making this work. Like it's ripping off the band-aid and let's go. I'm diving in. Like it's now or never, right? So
yeah,
let's make it happen. And it seems that the risk, because I know it's a risk, is starting to pay off. Not that it's completely paid off, but like you said, now things have happened. Like you brought on New Jersey Digest, you brought on the lottery, New Jersey State Lottery as a sponsor, and I think this is too. Like a lot of people will say, "Well, Mike, I've been trying to get sponsors. How do you even get sponsors like that?" But I think that that's a whole like process in itself. Like
yeah.
how do you go about getting sponsors like that? I know you've been involved in sales, but like for the actual podcaster out there who's like, I kind of want to start monetizing my show, like what would you recommend, or what did you do that you could share, or add any insight that may help somebody out there who's saying, "Hey, I'd like to go get sponsors, but I'm kind of like clueless on how to even go do that."
Yeah. Well, the first step is ask. I mean, closed
Simple.
mouths don't get fed. As I heard that saying once. But and I do think that sometimes people undervalue kind of what they've been able to build on
Mm,
in the kind of stuff that we do.
yeah, well
Um,
said.
yeah, and I think that especially like if you've been going for a while and you have an audience, and the one thing that you obviously need to do is you need to be able to communicate to potential sponsors what your audience is, and know them really well. And uh, that's something that when I started putting together my sponsorship decks and all that kind of stuff and trying to figure out how I would go about pitching someone to actually sponsor the show. That's honestly what you have to do. You need to know
Right.
who's listening and who's interacting and engaging with your content. And when I say interacting and engaging, and we talked about this at a recent what do we call those podex with
Yeah, like
Stacy
the
and
yeah,
Liz
the
and
yeah, Stacy and Elizabeth's the podcast, is
yeah.
it pod it's not that. It's something else. If Stacy or Elizabeth, if you're watching
Yeah,
or
sorry
listening,
if we got sorry I
listen.
got it wrong. It
Yeah,
was new that
I'm
night, so
completely screwing
yeah.
that up. Yeah.
But talking about that is really when you're talking about your audience, there's different ways to kind of like unpack what your audience looks like. Because I have people that follow me on socials that are
Right.
frequent engagers with my content that don't listen to podcasts, but they like, you know, checking in and being like, oh, he was over here today. He was over here
Yep.
today, like that kind of thing. Um, so then being able to kind of take those numbers and kind of put them together and create like these, I don't know, avatar is the word you want to use, but
Yeah.
like the listener of your show, and then being able to present that in a clear, concise way to someone like like an organization like the lottery. For Jersey Fest, we just brought on Hackensack Meridian Health which is probably the biggest, if not the biggest. If they're not the biggest, they're like second biggest healthcare
Yeah.
provider in the state of New Jersey. They're a sponsor for Jersey Fest, and that was an awesome get for us too. And those things start to lead to other relationships down the road and all that kind of stuff. But
Right.
I think like being able to define exactly what your audience is, knowing, and this seems so obvious, but it's like it still kind of it eluded
It
me for a
is.
while. You
Yeah,
know,
well, you kind of overthink it, and you're like, "Well, what do I
yeah.
do? How do I even say? What am I gonna say?" And you just gotta be
Right. How
like,
much
"How
do
do I
I
say?"
ask for?
Right.
Like if you're doing like a CRM model,
Right.
CRM, I don't even know what that is because we don't do that.
Yeah. See,
But
so cost per click, CPC.
yeah, cost per, like cost every thousand listens, you get $25 or whatever that, structure is. And I think
Yeah.
people freak out because they're like, oh my God, I only get 250 listens an episode. I get 50 listens an episode. Like there's ways to still monetize that audience. You just need to be smart. If you have like a really engaged 50 listeners, that's really good, and people actually pay for that.
Yeah. Hey, absolutely.
And
Yeah.
like I said before, I think a lot of times people just undervalue what they're doing. And I think that they start to compare themselves, like you said before, like someone that maybe just starting out compares himself to me. I compare myself to somebody that's 10 years in, and you know, kind of like keep going up the chain. Excuse me. And I think like that is the wrong way to look at it. You just kind of like look at yourself in a little box, you know what you do really well, and you
Yeah.
could figure out pretty easily who in your circle would want to pay for exposure to that audience and then just ask them.
Yeah, and I mean, it just comes back to what you just said at the start of this was ask.
Ask.
Gotta ask. Gotta
Yeah.
ask. And
They could
you
say
know
they'll say
what?
no. I got
Yeah.
no's thrown in my face for Jersey Fest for the last 3 months,
And there you
but those
go.
couple of yeses were awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's why you just got to keep asking. And,
Yeah.
and honestly, if you don't know what you're really worth or what to charge, keep it simple. Start with $25, $50. I mean, just start with something simple and work your way up is what I always recommend. Like, or you know what? Shoot for the stars and go, hey, I want $1,000 or $5,000. I mean,
Yeah.
but like look, just do it. Don't overthink it. Just kind of get going and get started. You can always raise your age. You can always adjust things later on. It's completely okay
Yeah.
on that. And yeah, and I see Alex is checking in. Yeah, exactly, Alex. You just have to ask.
Have to ask.
That's it.
The answer's always no if you never ask.
Boom. Oh, and Alex say 1 million, Chris, $1 million. Perfect.
$1
That's
million.
right. $1 million. That's right. Alex's top tier to advertise on his podcast is $1 million.
Yeah.
You get
That's pretty
naming
good.
rights
I'll add
for
that as a
forever.
yeah.
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 You
That'd be
should. You
awesome.
should put that at the bottom of your sponsorship. Just $1 million.
Yeah. Well,
What is that
honestly,
you
and
actually get to buy the podcast. It's yours.
yeah, yeah, you get to buy the yeah, right. But I mean, like the level sponsorship that I put in my deck that the lottery wound up taking for the show was
Yeah.
something that I didn't think anyone was actually going to go for. I
That's
just
a
figured
great
like we'll
point.
put it there, and if it happens, great. If not, whatever. Like it's kind of like a
Whatever.
pipe dream almost. And when they first, asked me about that level, I was like, they're like, you got a contract and stuff that you can send over to us and we'll take a look at it. And I was like, yeah, sure. And like, typed one up and sent it over to him, but it was just something that I put in there. Didn't think it was going to be something that would actually happen. And it wound up happening. But again, like if I had just kept in, whatever, like the initial level
Right.
sponsorships that I have, they would have picked one of those and I would have lost out on that opportunity to actually have, a big title sponsor, So, yeah, just
Yeah.
ask for it.
You ask and you got to swing for the fences, like you just
Yeah.
said. I mean, you know what? If you got an idea for a kind of a kitchen sink and it's this much money, put it on there because the worst that's going to happen is someone's actually going to take you up on it. And
Yeah.
case in point, that someone actually did come along and take you up on it. So
Yeah.
very valuable lesson to be learned there. And by the way, I just want to make the quick correction here. The pod experience. So we were
Pod
close. We said like
experience.
pod X, but it's pod experience that Stacy Sherman and Elizabeth Gearhart run, which by the way, they do it monthly. They've done now 3. Mike and I were fortunate enough to be part of the second one as on a roundtable. So definitely keep an eye out for that because you'll follow them wherever, LinkedIn, Facebook, you'll find them. But it's a great New Jersey podcast meetup. So,
Yeah.
and they do a
Do a
virtual
great job.
version as well. So, all right, let's move into this because I want to talk about Jersey Fest because this to me is when we get into like, how do you take things to the next level? Like you've already talked about the shifts that you've made, sort of overcoming a lot of the challenges of like losing your full-time job and sort of diving in. You've talked about running events. I've been to a lot of events. I was at the first anniversary party, but like you do things where it's like, yeah, we go to the, you get the brewery and we have a meetup at the brewery and everybody's there. You've got, audiences there. You've got guests there, which is great. And
Yeah.
now you have now taken it the next level up, which first of all, I was so excited when you told me that you were going to do this. I'm like, yes.
I've told you a
This
lot of
is
ideas in the past that
you
haven't really
did.
come to fruition.
You did. But
Yeah.
the thing is, that's it. You got to get them out. But this one is coming to fruition. So Mike, let's talk about it. Let's talk about Jersey Fest, man,
Yeah.
because this is like amazing. Honestly, I'm blown away by this. Let's talk
Thank
about
you.
Jersey Fest.
Sure. So as you can see right there, Jersey Fest is going to be next Saturday, May 18th. It's going to be a celebration of the Garden State and the people who make it great. And so, like you said, we've done some events in the past that have been a little bit, smaller. I think I was pointing back here because these are our posters from those events. So this one,
Yeah.
This green one is the one from our 6-month party. This one is the one from our 1 year anniversary party. Your signature is on that poster someplace, I'm sure.
It is
Um,
somewhere scribbled.
but yeah, scribbled on there. But and I always had this idea of doing something like big, you know.
Yeah.
So the last party we did at Glenbrook, we had a couple guys, Mark and Nat, playing some acoustic guitar, which was great. But
Yeah.
at that point, I had been having more artists on the show, and obviously, hospitality has always been a bread and butter thing for us as far as guests go, because we want guests that our listeners can actually engage with in some way, whether it's watching them play music, checking them out, having dinner there, having a drink there,
Yeah.
whatever the case may be. And so earlier this year, I interviewed Sean Seda, who is the EVP of entertainment at the Prudential Center. And they sort of run White Eagle Hall, and they're renovating the Lowe's Theater in Jersey City as well. Both historic spots
Right.
in Jersey City. And after we were talking about White Eagle Hall, and he was telling me about it, and I was like, well, I have this idea. We kind of got into like an email chain with him and some people from his team, like Shannon Daymore and a couple other folks,
Mhm.
and they really liked the idea. And I was like, I want to bring together everything Jersey, right? So like we have 5 bands playing. The Surfing for Daisy is one of them. They're the band that's on the screen right now.
Yep.
Um,
Here we go.
there you go. There's all the bands. So Natalie, Surfing for Daisy, Reese Van Riper, Jackson Pines, the Vaughns. Those are all great Jersey bands from different parts of the state.
I love the
Um,
Jackson Pines.
what's
That's a
that?
great name. The Jackson Pines. That's a
Yeah,
great
so
name.
they're I mean they're
Total
from
Jersey thing
Jackson
for
in the Pine Barrens,
yeah.
so they
Total
and they're
Jersey thing for those that don't know much about
yeah, right.
Jersey.
Yeah, if you
Jackson
don't
Pines
get
is a
it, you don't. If
yeah.
you know, you know
Yeah.
kind of
Sorry.
thing.
If you know, you know. But yeah.
But yeah, so they all a little bit different kind of styles of music from each group. Like Natalie's a little bit more pop.
Yeah.
Surfing for Daisies just kind of like a I don't know, like a folk rock kind of thing.
Yeah, I would say like
Uh,
a folk rock kind of
yeah,
a thing. Yeah,
Reese is
after I
like
listened
we
to it.
like to say he's like the king of Jersey swamp rock. Like he's New Orleans style music. Jackson Pines is a folk band, and they're from
Yeah.
the Pine Barrens, and they record in like a bog house down there, which is pretty cool. And then the
Yeah.
Vaughns are kind of like a pop rock kind of thing, I would say,
Yeah.
sort of.
Yeah, I've heard them. They're good.
Yeah, and so you had 5 different bands, and then the bar is going to be full of Jersey breweries and Jersey distilleries. So I think we have 5. Though we should get to those too with Keith
Oh
and
yeah.
Mark.
Yeah.
But the breweries and the distilleries, so
Oh,
everything
there we
behind
go.
the bar. Yeah, there we go. Is going to be Jersey beers, Jersey spirits. Um, and then we're going to have food for sale as well. So like Johnny's Pork Roll and Coffee too. They're down in Red Bank. He has a food truck also. So he'll be making Taylor ham, egg, and cheeses or pork roll, egg, and cheeses, depending on which part of the state you want to be in. And then we also have Ruts Hut,
The
coming
home
out,
of the
which
Ripper.
home of the Ripper, the world's most famous hot dog, I would imagine.
I would say
Um,
so. It is the
yeah,
world's most
and
famous hot dog.
yeah, and I've been talking to some people recently once we kind of got that finalized, and they're like, and Ruts has been there for forever, 60 years or
Yeah.
70 years, whatever it
My
is.
my yeah, my dad was going to Ruts Hut when he
Yeah,
was in high school, and that was a long
exactly.
time ago.
Yeah. And, like this is the first time they're really kind of going beyond the 4 walls of their actual place and doing
Yeah.
something on location, which is something that they want to do more of. Um, they just happen to be doing it for the first time at Jersey Fests, which
Yeah.
is really cool. And I'm very humbled that we were able to get them to agree to do that.
That's very
And
cool.
hoping that like as we continue doing these events, they're part of all of them, because obviously that's a brand that is, when it comes
Yeah.
to Jersey businesses, that's a legendary brand in the state. So we'll have food for sale, VIP tickets upstairs. They'll have some food tastings from Jamie Knott and Cellar 335 up there. These are our sponsors that we were able to pull in for
Yeah, which is
Jersey
great.
Fest as well, and then the venue too. So
Yeah, White Eagle Hall is great, everybody. If you've never been there, it's definitely a great spot in Jersey City. I was just recently there to see Matthew Sweet, and it's great sound system, great venue. Yeah, the balcony. Get the VIP tickets because the balcony section is pretty awesome.
yeah, you get some free food, you get cash bar, seat,
Yeah,
bathroom, all that stuff upstairs is just for you. And then we have Keith
some
McPherson, who's the late night host on WFAN. who's a
Yep.
Jersey guy from Monmouth County, lives in Jersey City right now. He'll be out there. He's rocking my beanie in that picture, which is pretty cool.
That is good.
So he'll come out, he'll jump on stage at some point, say something, probably like "Go Yankees" or whatever. And then we have who probably two guys who I would consider when it comes to like Jersey content. They're like the
Oh,
OG
yes.
content creators in New Jersey,
Definitely OG.
and like I don't think there's anybody before them really. When
No
it
one
comes
was
to like
doing that
nobody
stuff,
was
the
doing
weird
this
New
kind of stuff.
Jersey. No one was doing things like that. And I
Yeah,
have a lot of the OG weird New Jersey They were definitely the first, like literally. And for those of you that don't know, go Google weird New Jersey.
yeah,
Mark and Mark were the originators of basically creating a New Jersey zine that just explored all the weird urban myth stuff about New Jersey that, you know,
which
like
there's a lot of.
yeah, Mike and I grew up, and depending where you are in New Jersey, just about everybody in New Jersey had some kind of urban myth beyond just like the Jersey Devil stuff and all
Yeah,
that. But every town in New Jersey's got something, and these guys really, honestly, are the curators of that weird history, weird New Jersey. So if you don't know of them, I would highly recommend you go and Google them because you'll be able to check out a lot of their stuff.
yeah.
It's pretty awesome. So that's cool that
And
they're going to
they're
be
they're
there.
awesome. So I mean, we've been talking for a little bit now about doing an episode of the show together. And then I was like, hey, do you guys want to come out for Jersey Fest? You can
Yeah,
do whatever you want. I really don't care. So they'll be there, and we're hoping, adding some more stuff even over the next week or so, just
sure.
to kind of continue to make it like a full Jersey experience for everybody that kind of comes through for it. So it's gonna be awesome, and I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited that we're a week away and we're almost done with the actual like work of putting
Yeah,
together the event, and we actually can have some fun. And like we've been talking a lot with the bands to make sure we have all the stage plots and plugins and whatever. And I was like, I'm really just excited to like watch you guys play. Like really
yeah,
after all this. And I'm really excited about the lineup. I was pumped when we first put it together, and as we've gotten closer to the show date, I've just been more and more excited because I've seen a couple of them play live. I'm familiar with all their music, obviously, but there's a couple that I've never seen play live.
hmm
But yeah, I'm all pumped up about it.
Yeah, this is going to be awesome, and I am looking forward to going. So listen, everybody, I have the link. It's in the comments, but if you don't have it, once again, just head over to greetingsfromthegardenstate.com and just go to Jersey Fest. I literally just had that all up on screen, but you definitely want to get your tickets now before the show does sell out. Get VIP tickets too, because there's all kinds of
Yeah,
cool little perks that come along with them. But you know what? If you don't want to do that, great. You'll still have a good time.
yeah,
Get tickets. This is going to be great. And honestly, I love the idea of this. And the big thing for me is that it's not just a show, it's the fact that this is somebody from our community, Mike here, who is a content creator who basically out of a podcast is now taking that leap. And honestly, it's a risk, but I think it's one worth doing for sure. And man, I am pumped. I'm pumped. And I think that this is something that all podcasters should strive to do, depending on what kind of podcast you do. Like, this is an exact example of how to take things to another level, born out of, a podcast, essentially. I mean,
yeah.
really, what it is at the end of the day. So
No, I
I'm
appreciate
pumped,
that.
man. I'm pumped. I
Yeah,
think this is going to be great.
yeah. No, I'm excited too. And we went into this year, like I said, back in October, everything kind of got jumbled up a little bit,
Yeah.
with the job, and then kind of becoming like a full time. Greetings from the Garden State became the full time
Right.
gig. But I think it was something where towards the end of last year, sort of kind of like not fell back into like a, you know, we're just going
Yeah.
to kind of keep plodding along type of thing, but wanted to kind of come out in 2024 and take like a big swing, because if like we're going to do this, we're going to do this,
Right.
and this is obviously like the first big swing of the year. And we're working on a couple other things that I think are going to be pretty cool coming up, and I'll tease those a little bit. But
Ooh,
Jersey Fest is like the first
some
big one,
scoops.
and
Yeah.
like you said, it is a risk, of course. Like I had to put up my own money for everything up front and then kind of backfill that with sponsorship dollars and ticket sales, which is terrifying.
Yeah.
But at
I
the
would be
same time,
terrified too.
yeah, but at the same time, like, this is something that I'm really proud of, and we've kind of like worked really hard to make like I said before, like a full experience for everybody, so that everybody that doesn't show up is going to have some serious FOMO, but
Oh yeah.
they'll have to hit the next one.
Yeah, exactly. And I heard something about the next one's gonna have like some big band reunion, like Led Zeppelin or something. I don't know. Just the
Yeah, what's a
Stones. I
Jersey band
heard.
that's broken up?
Yeah.
We got to get them back together.
Bruce. I mean, come on, Bruce.
Yeah,
Jersey Fest.
Bruce Springsteen.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean there's so many. Well, Jersey's just like super unique in that
Yeah.
it has like a great food scene and the music scene. The more I've researched it and done, more interviews and done different things and kind of learned more about it, the music scene in Jersey's crazy too. From
Oh
top to
yeah.
bottom, all different parts of the state.
Oh
Like
yeah.
I mean, you're a punk guy, like kind of like where it started
Yeah.
almost in Jersey, and I think like that's to me like a really interesting thing that we're able to now we have all these different ways we can tap into different pockets of interests and cultures and
Yeah.
different parts of the state and maybe bringing Jersey Fest on the road a little bit and going down to different parts of the state as well.
Right.
I think that there's so much we can do with not just this but the other things that we're working on, that it's like, what's the limit? Like there really is none,
Right. There
because
is
all the stuff
none.
that we'll try, it's either going to work or if or
Yeah.
it doesn't. And if it works, great. We'll kind of continue pushing those. And
Yeah.
if something doesn't work, that's cool. We'll just kind of
Yeah.
put it off to the
Bef-
side, never talk about it again,
yeah.
and try something else.
I mean, honestly, dude, before you know it, I mean, this is gonna be something where it's gonna be an outdoor festival with it's gonna be a proper like outdoor music concert festival celebrating Jersey with,
Yeah,
food, music, the whole shebang, and then, maybe I'll be at PNC Art Center or something like that,
that'd be
or
dope.
at the Rock or something. So
Yeah, I have
that's
an
I mean,
idea for something
honestly
at the
though, you
Rock
are
too.
right, man. The sky is the limit with this, and I think that once again, it's a great idea. I'm super supportive of it, of course.
No, of
But
course.
I just think for people out there, right, content creators in general, like, because I want to bring it back to that listen, I mean, it's not like Mike is doing anything here that you can't do on your own. I am always a big supporter of you have everything you need at your disposal right now to be as successful as you want. It just really comes down to you doing it and making it happen. And Mike, I'm just gonna speak for you on this real quick. Is like, I
Sure.
know for a fact Mike wasn't given anything. Mike has worked his ass off to get to this point, to get it to this point, and he will continue to keep working. And I'm telling you, for anybody out there that wants to take things to that next level, you can absolutely do it. Yes, it takes some risk, it takes a little time and a little bit of money, but
Yeah,
you can get there. So I just want everybody to kind of really take away from Mike's story here today is that you are 1,000% capable of doing the same thing. Nothing stopping you, nothing holding you back, honestly, at the end of the day, other than yourself. And I
totally. Yeah. I mean,
firmly
I
believe
think
that.
like you hit the nail on the head. And I think also it's just a matter of like if you're already doing a podcast or creating content or whatever, you must have some creative bone in your body. So
Right.
like what else can you do? Like I think sometimes too, because like especially with the way that we run Greetings from the Garden State, it's not a traditional show, and that we don't, sit in a studio and record like we're recording right now, or
Yeah.
or anything like that. We do it differently. We do it like live, and not live, but raw, like on location. We've been doing more like walk and talks with like wireless mics and different things like that too, to kind of see how far we can push,
Right.
what a podcast actually
The
is.
aesthetic. Yeah.
The aesthetic, the sound, the kind of interaction with the venue that we're at. I think like that kind of is interesting.
Yeah.
Like if we're going to record at a busy diner, you're going to be listening to us talk, but also kind of hear some like,
Right.
silverware in the back, kind of like clang or whatever. And I think that might not be everybody's cup of tea. That's fine.
Right.
Especially like in a traditional podcast sense, but like that's really what I've been kind of working on, is like, how can we push this to a point where it's different, and what else can we get away with really?
Mhm.
And then from the event side, like honestly, it is a little bit easier for me than it would be someone that does strictly like a Zoom show with people from all around the country or the world. But like,
Right.
there's still something there. You could figure out a way to kind of get engaged with your audiences in different ways,
Yeah.
and create something that kind of brings people together. Because I think sometimes we kind of get, and I do this all the time, I get stuck on like the hamster wheel of recording and releasing and,
Yeah.
putting out social clips and don't actually like treat what we do as a business, or treat it as something that can be more. It's like you just
Yeah.
wind up and then you're 6 months down the road and you're like, oh man, like I didn't even do anything.
Right.
Like what was that even
Yeah.
for? You
What
know?
did I even accomplish?
Yeah, but it's about, like maintaining those relationships. Like I, try to get to all the places that we've had on the show, yeah, as best I can, because we're at 128 episodes now. So it's
Yeah.
getting harder to continue to stay and, hit all of them all the time.
Right.
Um, but with anything, you start to find your people, and then you're able to kind of put some stuff together with them. Like this is a prime example of that. Like Jackson Pines, we're joking about them, but they were a guest on our show. It was like a day where we did an episode out in Camden. Chrissy actually came with me that day. We had like
Mhm.
best cheesesteaks in the world at Donkey's Place in Camden and recorded an episode there. Then we drove out into the Pine Barrens, which are two totally polar opposite ends of the spectrum,
Yes.
to record with Joe and James, and they were awesome. And now we actually, our theme song for the show is a Jackson Pines song. It's called Ride, which I think is so apropos
Oh,
of
they
like
are the
what the
ones that did
actual,
that. Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, I
So
was gonna say I like that.
that's one of
Yeah.
their songs, and it just, take a ride with me. That's kind of the
Yeah.
spirit of it, and that's kind of what the show is all about. And that was just like a cool way to kind of get them all together and like figure out ways we can kind of piece everybody together. And they've already said like they've never been able to come up to grab a Ruts Hut Ripper, and they're like,
Yeah.
this is great because now we don't actually have to go up to Clifton. We can just go to Jersey
Right.
Fest, grab a hot dog, and we're good. So
No,
all
I
those
love
things,
that.
I think they start to kind of work together. And when you find your people, you can kind of create stuff together and kind of help, and you've done them a solid. They came on your show, they got a
Yeah.
little marketing, all that kind of stuff. It's like okay to ask for a favor every now and then, but
Of course.
so that's kind of how we're able to put this together, like finding the people, getting them in the same room, and then kind of seeing what magic comes out of that.
I love it, man. Absolutely love it. So I got one more question for you.
Yeah.
Is New Jersey really the greatest state in the union?
Yeah.
Or
100%.
yeah,
Yeah.
100%, right? Right.
Yeah.
When
Anybody
I,
that's listening that
yeah.
says otherwise is not from here and just doesn't get it. And they'll be like, "Oh, my city's the best." And it's like, "No, your state contains all the places in your state." Like if, you want to say Pennsylvania's better, what do you got? You got Philly, and Pittsburgh's 4 hours away, and like what's in between? Nothing. And just a
A
big
lot,
flat
lot
rectangle.
of woods.
Yeah, a lot of woods. But, I mean, Jersey to me is something like I'm lucky that I started this show. Not lucky because I started it, but have a
Right.
place where I can kind of get top to bottom really in a couple hours and do the show the way that I do it. And then when we do events like this, it's somewhat easy for people to get there and, get them all together under one roof. But, beach, mountains, farms, some of the best food in the world, some of the best bagels, pizza, all that kind of stuff. I mean, you can go down the line with everything. And
Definitely
it's just
pizza.
really at the end of the day, it's the people. And I'm sure there's great people everywhere, but people in Jersey are special in like a
Mm.
almost indescribable way. Like it's the most densely populated state in the country. It's also one of the most diverse populations in the country. So you get a
Yes.
lot of different cultures, background, diverse in a lot of ways,
Yes.
cultures, backgrounds, ways of life, thoughts, like everything. And I
Yeah.
think it helps make you a little bit more worldly, so it kind of, you understand what makes people tick a little bit more. You obviously have to be like a little bit of a chip on your shoulder to actually survive here,
Yeah, I
because there's just
agreed.
a lot of hustling and bustling. But I do think that it's, I mean, I've built my entire life now on essentially being from Jersey and kind of relaying all the great things that the state has to offer to other people.
Right.
And what you couldn't ask for a better place to do that.
Yeah, I agree. New Jersey's definitely special. I haven't
Yeah,
visited every state in the union, but I would
you
say I
don't
think
need
New
to. You're from
Jersey's,
Jersey, man.
yeah. I mean, New Jersey's is pretty special.
Yeah,
Absolutely pretty special place. And yeah, I agree. You got to have kind of a little bit of thick skin, I think,
yeah,
to hang here.
yeah, for sure. It
A
like
little bit,
moves a little bit faster, and we're
a
not
little
waiting
bit
for you,
faster.
kind of thing.
No, no, not at all. And I get
Yeah,
told all the time that I talk too fast, and I'm like, well, I'm sorry, I'm from Jersey. That's
yeah, that's how I
you got
talk.
to get it all out
You
because
got to
everybody's
catch
already
up.
on to the next thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. No, man, this was great, man. Thank you so much for coming on today. Thanks for sharing your story and talking about Jersey Fest. So,
Yeah,
listen, once again, everybody out there right now, I've been flashing it the whole time. Links are below. Go to greetingsfromthegarden.state.com. Hit that. Go there. You can check out the podcast. All the episodes are there. Mike's got a sweet merch shop. So if you like that hat he's got on, the lightning bolt, he and I also share some similar branding stuff with bolts and all that.
sure.
Um, Definitely pick up some merch and get your tickets to Jersey Fest. I'm telling you guys, come to this. If you are in the area, and if you're not, and you're like, hey, I want to experience Jersey,
Oh,
get your
this is the
ticket, get
place.
on a plane, get in a car, come here, spend a weekend in Jersey, and we'll show you a good time. We'll show you a good
That's
time.
for
And it's a
sure.
weekend. So I mean literally you can come in on a Friday and be out of here on Sunday or Monday morning. It's by Jersey City, so you can go here and then go hit Manhattan and do your stuff and then go home.
No, you can stay in Jersey and get everything you need. You know.
Exactly. So get your tickets right now. Head over to greetingsfromthegarden.state.com. And that does it for us today. Mike, thank you so much. Any parting words? Any last words?
Uh, no, I mean, I think the main things that we hit on, especially for the purpose of this show, obviously, we want you to come to Jersey Fest. Obviously, the show is
Right.
great. You should listen to it, all that kind of stuff. But when it really comes down to it, is kind of seeing, like, push your boundaries a little bit, like make yourself a little bit uncomfortable, ask for sponsors. That's an uncomfortable conversation sometimes because, you need to be able to value what you do the proper way, and don't be afraid to ask people and present what you have to others and be like, hey, this is my show, this is my audience, I think this would be a great place for you to kind of connect with my people, and you'll be surprised with how receptive a lot of potential sponsors will be to that. And just take it to the next level. Like, see how, like I said, make yourself a little bit uncomfortable, push yourself a little bit past what your boundaries are a little bit when it comes to the show and what you're
Yeah.
creating and all that kind of stuff, and see what happens from there. Because I can guarantee you, like, it's going to change your life because you're going to unlock things that you didn't even know were possible. And now all of a sudden, you're running an event for a few hundred people and have to,
Yeah.
do all the work for that.
You got to do all the work, but
You gotta do all the
hey.
work. It's gonna be a lot of work and it's gonna be tough and it's gonna, sleepless nights and all that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, like, it's really worth it because the experiences that you get from doing stuff like this and the people that you get to meet from doing stuff like this it's crazy. Like, I sometimes have to, like, pinch myself, like I'm friends with this person, this person, this person. Like, I, text them, call them, do
Yeah.
whatever, like that kind of stuff is wild. And it's all because of kind of the risks we've taken and the boundaries that we've pushed a little bit as far as kind of growing the show and growing the brand and all the stuff that we do.
Very well said, my friend. Well
Thank you.
said. All right. You're welcome. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching us live right here. Please make sure if you're watching me on YouTube, please make sure you hit that subscribe button so that way you get notified every time I drop videos like this. I'm always dropping other videos there. And of course, hit that little bell so you get notified every single time I drop a video on my YouTube channel. And you could listen to Creative Frequencies, the podcast, anywhere you get podcasts. We are everywhere. It used to be called Rocket Live. It is now called Creative Frequencies. So if you do a search for that, it will come up. So follow us there. I will see you guys at Jersey Fest with my cam. And make sure you listen to Greetings from the Garden State wherever you get podcasts as well. And also follow Mike as well. Hit him a subscribe and the little bell over on YouTube for Greetings from the Garden State as well. So, all right, everyone. Cheers. Rocket. See you later. Yeah.